Patricia Hendricks grabbed the 6-year-old black girl by the wrist and squeezed hard. "Sit down and shut your mouth." Her fingernails dug into Maya's skin. The child's face twisted in pain, but she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood frozen on her seat, tears pooling in her eyes, staring at this flight attendant who had just served her rotting food and was now physically hurting her for daring to complain. The entire first-class cabin went silent. 30 passengers watched a grown woman assault a child, and nobody moved. Nobody except Maya's mother. What happened next would be filmed, shared 50 million times, and destroy Patricia Hendricks' entire life. Before you hear what this 6-year-old girl did next, I need you to subscribe to this channel and follow this incredible story until the very end. Drop a comment right now telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story of courage travels across the world. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Mama, tell me again why Bessie Coleman had to go to France. Maya Williams looked up from her book, her brown eyes filled with curiosity. She was curled up in an oversized leather chair in the VIP lounge at JFK Airport, her lavender dress spread around her butterfly clips, holding back her natural curls. Denise Williams set down her phone and smiled at her daughter, because nobody in America would teach her to fly baby. But why? Because she was a black woman, and back then people thought black women couldn't be pilots. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Denise laughed. You're absolutely right. It is dumb. So what did she do? She learned French. She saved every penny she earned, and she went to France where people would teach her. Maya's finger traced the photograph of Bessie Coleman in her book. She was brave. The bravest. Mama, am I brave? Denise reached over and cupped her daughter's face in her hands. Baby, you are the bravest person I know. But I've never done anything brave. Not yet, but when the time comes, you'll know exactly what to do. Maya considered this. How will I know? Because I've taught you something important, something I need you to never forget. What? Denise's voice became serious. Your voice matters, Maya. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. Even grown-ups. Especially grown-ups. Sometimes adults forget that being older doesn't make them right. Sometimes they need a reminder. What kind of reminder? The truth, spoken clearly, without fear. Maya nodded slowly, storing these words somewhere deep inside her. She didn't know why, but something told her she would need them soon. The announcement crackled overhead. Atlantic Premier Airways Flight 892 to Los Angeles, now boarding first-class passengers at Gate 34. That's us, baby girl. Denise stood and gathered their things. Ready to go see Grandma? Maya jumped up, her earlier serious mood evaporating into excitement. I can't wait to see her face when she opens her present. The music box. She's going to cry, Mama. I know she is. Happy tears. The best kind. They walked through the terminal hand in hand, Maya chattering about California and Disneyland and whether palm trees were as tall as people said. Denise listened with half an ear, her mind already on the flight ahead, on seeing her mother on the birthday celebration they had planned. She had no idea that in 3 hours her daughter would teach her something about courage that she would never forget. The gate agent scanned their boarding passes with a warm smile. Welcome aboard, Mrs. Williams. Miss Williams, I love your butterfly clips. Maya touched her hair and grinned. Thank you. My mama put them in special for the trip. Well, she did a beautiful job. You two have a wonderful flight. They walked down the jetway and stepped onto the plane. The first-class cabin stretched before them, all leather seats and soft lighting. A flight attendant named Christine greeted them with genuine warmth. Welcome aboard. You must be the Williams family. Let me show you to your seats. She led them to row 4 and helped Maya get settled by the window. Can I get you anything to drink while we wait for takeoff? Apple juice, please, Maya said. And sparkling water for me, Denise added. Coming right up. And Maya, I have something special for you. Christine pulled out a small package of cookies shaped like airplanes. These are for our VIP travelers only. Maya's eyes went wide. Really? Thank you so much. You're very welcome, sweetheart. Christine headed to the galley, and Maya immediately pressed her face against the window to watch the ground crew loading luggage. "Mama, look, they're putting the bags in. Do you think they'll be careful with Grandma's present?" "I'm sure they will, baby. I wrapped it really good, with lots of bubble wrap." "I know you did." The plane began to fill up. A businessman in an expensive suit took the seat across the aisle, immediately opening his laptop. An elderly white couple settled into their seats a few rows back, the husband helping his wife with her seatbelt. A young woman near the front put in her headphones and closed her eyes. Christine returned with their drinks and another smile. "We'll be taking off in about 15 minutes. Is there anything else I can get you?" "We're perfect," Denise said. "Thank you." "My pleasure. Just press the call button if you need anything at all." The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Morrison. Welcome aboard Flight 892 to Los Angeles. We're looking at clear skies and smooth air all the way to California. Flight time today will be approximately 5 hours and 45 minutes. We'll be pushing back from the gate in just a few minutes." And Maya bounced in her seat. 5 hours and 45 minutes. That's like forever. You have your book, and there are movies, and you can sleep. "I'm too excited to sleep." The plane began to move, backing away from the gate, turning toward the runway. Maya watched everything with wide eyes, narrating each moment to her mother. "We're moving, Mama. Oh, we're going faster. We're going really fast now. Mama, we're—" The wheels left the ground and Maya gasped. "We're flying. Mama, we're really flying." Denise squeezed her daughter's hand. "Just like Bessie Coleman." Maya pressed her nose against the window, watching the world shrink below them. Buildings became toys, cars became ants, and then they punched through the clouds into endless blue sky. "It's so beautiful up here," Maya whispered. "I understand why Bessie wanted to fly so bad." For the next hour, everything was perfect. Maya read her book. Denise answered some emails and then put her phone away to simply enjoy watching her daughter's wonder. Christine came by twice to check on them, refilling Maya's apple juice, offering Denise a warm towel. This was exactly what Denise had wanted, a special experience for her daughter, a chance to show Maya that she belonged anywhere she wanted to be. And then Patricia Hendricks walked into the first-class cabin. She emerged from the forward galley like a cold front moving in. Everything about her was sharp. Sharp uniform, sharp features, sharp eyes that swept across the cabin, assessing, judging. Maya didn't notice her at first. She was too absorbed in her book reading about how Bessie Coleman had performed her first public flight and how the crowds had gone wild. But Denise noticed. She noticed how Patricia's expression changed when her gaze landed on row 4, how her eyes narrowed slightly, how her lips pressed together into a thin line. Patricia began moving through the cabin, checking on passengers. "Good afternoon, sir." Her voice was honey-sweet when she addressed the businessman. "Everything comfortable? Can I get you anything?" "I'm fine, thank you." "Wonderful. Just let me know if that changes." She moved to the next row. "How are we doing here? That reading light working okay for you? I can adjust it if you'd like." Sweet, attentive, professional, she reached the elderly couple. "Oh, aren't you two just the sweetest? How long have you been married?" 52 years, the elderly man said proudly. 52 years. That's incredible. You must have so many wonderful stories. Where are you headed today? Los Angeles, to see our grandchildren. How lovely. Well, you just let me know if there's anything I can do to make your flight more comfortable. Denise watched this performance with growing unease. Patricia was warm with everyone she approached, friendly, caring, and then she reached row 4. The transformation was instant. Patricia's smile vanished. Her posture stiffened. Her voice when she spoke had lost every trace of warmth. "Are you in the right seats?" Denise blinked. "Excuse me?" "Your seats. Are these your assigned seats?" Maya looked up from her book, now confused by the woman's tone. "Yes," Denise said carefully. "We're in 4A and 4B. I'll need to see your boarding passes." "You'll need to see our boarding passes." "That's what I said." Denise glanced around the cabin. Patricia hadn't asked to see anyone else's boarding passes. Not the businessman, not the elderly couple, not anyone. "May I ask why?" Patricia's eyes hardened. It's standard procedure. It didn't seem to be standard procedure for anyone else in this cabin. Are you refusing to show me your boarding passes? I'm asking why we're being singled out. The businessman across the aisle had looked up from his laptop now. He was watching the exchange with a furrowed brow. Patricia's voice rose slightly. I'm not singling anyone out. I'm doing my job. Now, may I see your boarding passes, or do we have a problem? Denise could feel Maya's eyes on her. Her daughter was watching, learning, absorbing everything. She reached into the seat pocket and pulled out their boarding passes. Here. Patricia snatched them from her hand. She examined them with exaggerated care, tilting them toward the light, studying every line as if searching for evidence of forgery. Mama, Maya whispered. Why is she doing that? I don't know, baby. Patricia finally handed the passes back. These appear to be in order. Of course they're in order. We're paying customers just like everyone else on this plane. Patricia's lip curled. Of course you are. She moved on without another word, her voice immediately warming again as she addressed the next passenger. Maya tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mama, she was mean to us. I know, baby. But she wasn't mean to anybody else. I know. Why? Denise looked into her daughter's confused eyes and felt her heart crack. How do you explain racism to a 6-year-old? How do you tell your child that some people will hate her for reasons that have nothing to do with who she is? Some people are just difficult, baby. But why was she difficult to us? Denise didn't have an answer. 30 minutes passed. Maya tried to go back to her book, but she couldn't concentrate. She kept watching Patricia, tracking her movements through the cabin, trying to understand what she had seen. The announcement came for meal service. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be serving lunch shortly. For those in first class, we're offering grilled salmon with lemon butter sauce and roasted vegetables, or herb-crusted chicken with wild rice pilaf. We also have a vegetarian pasta option available. Maya perked up. Mama, can I get the chicken? Of course, baby. With extra vegetable. Whatever you want. The meal cart appeared at the front of the cabin. Patricia and a male flight attendant named David began working their way through the rows. The businessman received his salmon. Patricia presented it with a flourish, explaining each component of the dish, offering fresh pepper, making sure his napkin was properly placed. Is there anything else I can get for you, sir? More water, another roll? I'm fine, thank you. This looks wonderful. It really is delicious. Our chef outdid himself today. The elderly couple received their meals next. Patricia spent nearly 2 minutes with them, chatting about their grandchildren, recommending which wine would pair best, with the chicken promising to bring them extra dessert later. Maya watched all of this with growing anticipation. The food looked amazing. Steam rose from each plate. The smell of grilled salmon and roasted vegetables filled the cabin. The cart moved closer. And then it stopped at row 4. Patricia's face transformed. The smile disappeared. The warmth evaporated. She looked at Denise and Maya the way you might look at something unpleasant stuck to the bottom of your shoe. Lunch. That was it. One word. No greeting. No explanation of options. No warmth whatsoever. Excuse me, Denise said. I believe there was a choice. Patricia ignored her. She reached down to a lower compartment of the cart, a section she hadn't opened for any other passenger, and pulled out 2 plastic-wrapped packages. She dropped them onto their tray tables. Maya stared at what had landed in front of her. It was a sandwich wrapped in plastic. The bread had turned hard and was cracked in several places. The lettuce inside had wilted to a brownish-green slime. Something that might have been meat peeked out from between the slices, but it was gray and unappetizing. Next to it was a small container of fruit. The apples had turned completely brown. The berries were mushy and leaking juice. The grapes were wrinkled and beginning to rot. This isn't what everyone else got, Maya said. Patricia's eyes flickered toward her with barely concealed contempt. This is what we have. But everyone else got hot food. I saw them. This is what we have for your section. Denise's voice was tight. Our section. We're in first class, same as everyone else. This is the meal for your seats. The meal for our seats. Denise's eyes swept across the cabin. Interesting, because I didn't see you serve this to anyone else in first class. Patricia crossed her arms. Are you calling me a liar? I'm making an observation. Everyone else in this cabin received a hot meal. My daughter and I received what appears to be expired food from a gas station. I'm asking why. I don't have to explain myself to you. Actually, you do. We're customers. We paid for first-class tickets. We're entitled to first-class service. Patricia leaned in closer. Her voice dropped, but not enough. Other passengers could still hear. Maybe if you can't handle what's being served, you should have stayed in coach where you belong. The words hit Denise like a slap. Maya's eyes went wide. Mama, she said, I heard what she said, baby. The businessman across the aisle had stopped eating. He was staring at Patricia with an expression of disbelief. The elderly woman behind them had her hand pressed to her mouth. Denise's voice was deadly calm. I want to speak to your supervisor. Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. My supervisor, honey, I am the supervisor for this cabin. Then I want to speak to whoever is above you. The captain. You want to bother Captain Morrison because you don't like your sandwich. I want to speak to someone who understands that all passengers deserve equal treatment. Patricia straightened up. Her smile was cruel now, openly mocking. Equal treatment, that's rich. You people always want special treatment, and then cry discrimination when you don't get it. The cabin had gone silent. Everyone was watching now. Everyone was listening. What did you just say? Denise's voice was barely above a whisper. You heard me. You come in here with your attitude acting like you own the place, and then you're surprised when people treat you accordingly. We walked in politely. We sat in our assigned seats. We asked for the same meal service as everyone else. That's not attitude. That's basic human expectation. Basic human expectation. Patricia rolled her eyes. You want to know what my expectation was, that you would eat what you were given and be grateful for it. But no, that's never enough for people like you, is it? People like me. Patricia leaned in close, so close that Denise could smell her perfume, could see the hatred burning in her eyes. Some people just don't belong in first class, no matter how much money they have. No matter what tickets they buy, some people will always be exactly what they are. She straightened up, smoothed her uniform, and moved on to the next row as if nothing had happened. Denise sat frozen. She had experienced racism before. Of course she had. Every black woman in America has stories, the clutched purses, the followed footsteps in stores, the assumptions and microaggressions and daily indignities that accumulate like stones in your pockets. But this was different. This was open. This was brazen. This was a white woman looking her in the eye and telling her she didn't belong right in front of her 6-year-old daughter. Mama? Maya's voice was small and scared. Denise looked at her daughter and felt something shatter inside her chest. Maya's eyes were filled with confusion and pain. The confusion of a child trying to understand why a stranger would be so cruel. The pain of realizing that there are people in this world who will hate you for no reason at all. Yes, baby. Why does she hate us? Denise opened her mouth to answer, but no words came out. What could she possibly say? How could she explain something that was fundamentally inexplicable? How could she make sense of hatred that made no sense? I don't know, baby. I don't know. Maya looked down at the spoiled food in front of her, the moldy sandwich, the rotting fruit. She poked the bread with her finger and watched it crumble. She gave us this on purpose, didn't she? Yes. Because we're black. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. A 6-year-old girl stating a truth that she should never have had to learn. Yes, baby. Because we're black. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Her small hands were clenched in her lap. Her jaw was tight. Her eyes had taken on a look that Denise had never seen before. That's not fair. No, it's not. Bessie Coleman, people treated her bad too, didn't they? Yes, they did. But she flew anyway. Yes, she did. Maya looked across the aisle at the businessman's meal, the beautiful salmon, the fresh vegetables, the warm bread. She looked at her own tray, the garbage that Patricia had thrown at them. "Mama, you told me something in the airport." "What did I tell you?" "You told me my voice matters. You told me not to let anyone make me feel small." "I did tell you that. Did you mean it?" Denise looked into her daughter's eyes and saw something new there, something fierce, something determined, something that hadn't been there before. "I meant every word, baby. Even now, even when it's hard. Especially now, especially when it's hard." Maya nodded slowly. She looked toward the front of the cabin, where Patricia had disappeared into the galley. She could hear the flight attendant laughing with her colleague, probably making jokes about the black woman and her daughter, who had dared to ask for equal treatment. "Mama, that lady was wrong." Yes, she was. What she said, what she did, all of it was wrong. Yes, it was. And nobody stopped her. Denise felt the weight of those words. Nobody stopped her. Not the businessman across the aisle with his expensive suit and his hot salmon. Not the elderly couple behind them. Not any of the passengers who had witnessed everything. Nobody had said a word. No baby. Nobody stopped her. Maya's eyes moved around the cabin. She looked at each passenger in turn. The businessman who was carefully not meeting their eyes. The elderly couple who had suddenly become very interested in their food. The young woman who had put her headphones back in. They had all heard, they had all seen, and they had all chosen silence. "Mama, you told me that sometimes grown-ups need to be reminded to do better." "I did say that." "How do you remind them?" "By speaking the truth, baby, by using your voice." Maya was quiet again. Her mind was working through something, processing everything she had learned in her 6 years of life, everything her mother had taught her, everything she had read about Bessie Coleman and courage and standing up for yourself. "Mama, I think I'm scared." "That's okay, baby. Being scared is normal." "But Bessie was scared too, right?" "Probably. But she flew anyway." She flew anyway. Maya repeated the words like a prayer, like a promise, like a vow. She picked up the container of rotting fruit and looked at it, really looked at it. The brown apples, the mushy berries, the wrinkled grapes. Evidence of exactly what Patricia thought of them. Evidence of exactly how much respect she believed they deserved. None. Patricia thought they deserved none. "Mama, I think I know what I have to do." Denise looked at her daughter with a mixture of pride and fear. "What do you mean, baby?" "I have to use my voice. I have to remind them." "Remind who?" Maya gestured around the cabin. "All of them, that lady, and all these people who didn't say anything. They need to be reminded." "Maya, baby, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." Maya's voice was firm in a way Denise had never heard before. "You said my voice matters. You said don't let anyone make me feel small. But Mama, I feel small right now. I feel really small. And if I don't do something, I'm going to feel small forever." Denise felt tears prick her eyes. Her 6-year-old daughter, her baby girl, was teaching her something about courage that she had forgotten. That sometimes speaking up isn't about winning. It's about refusing to let them silence you. It's about standing in your truth, even when your knees are shaking. "What are you going to do?" Denise asked. Maya looked at the spoiled food one more time. Then she looked at her mother. Then she looked toward the front of the cabin where Patricia was still laughing in the galley. "I'm going to fly, Mama, just like Bessie." Denise didn't understand what her daughter meant. Not yet. But she saw the determination in Maya's eyes, and she knew that whatever was about to happen, she would support her daughter completely. "Okay, baby. Whatever you need to do, I'm right here with you." Maya nodded. She took a deep breath. She thought about Bessie Coleman learning French. She thought about Bessie Coleman going to France. She thought about Bessie Coleman climbing into that plane and proving everyone wrong. She thought about her mother's words, "Your voice matters. Don't let anyone make you feel small." And then Maya Williams, 6 years old, wearing a lavender dress with butterfly clips in her hair, began to stand up on her seat. "Maya, what are you—" But Maya wasn't listening anymore. She was rising. She was finding her feet on the leather seat cushion. She was lifting herself above the seatbacks, making herself visible to everyone in the first-class cabin. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her legs felt shaky beneath her. Her hands gripped the headrest of the seat in front of her for balance. Every instinct told her to sit back down, to stay quiet, to be the good little girl who didn't make trouble, to accept the rotten food and the cruel words and the message that she didn't belong. But there was another voice inside her now, her mother's voice, Bessie Coleman's voice, the voice of every black woman who had ever refused to be silenced. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Sometimes grown-ups need to be reminded. Maya took one more deep breath, and then she opened her mouth to speak. Denise Williams moved faster than she had ever moved in her life. One second she was sitting in her seat. The next second she was on her feet, her hand clamped around Patricia Hendricks's wrist, twisting it away from her daughter with a force that made the flight attendant gasp in shock. "Get your hands off my child!" Denise's voice was low and dangerous. Not screaming, not hysterical. Something far more terrifying. The voice of a mother who would burn the entire world down to protect her baby. Patricia stumbled backward, her eyes wide with disbelief. Nobody had ever touched her like that. Nobody had ever dared. "How dare you put your hands on me?" Patricia hissed. "I'll have you arrested when we land. You just grabbed my 6-year-old daughter, you left marks on her wrist, and you're threatening me." Maya was still standing on her seat, trembling, cradling her wrist where Patricia's fingernails had dug into her skin. Red crescents were already forming on her brown flesh, evidence, proof of exactly what this woman had done. "Mama, it hurts." Those 3 words shattered something inside Denise. Her baby was hurt. This woman had hurt her baby, and for what? For complaining about spoiled food, for daring to exist in first class while black. "Let me see, baby." Denise gently took Maya's arm and examined the marks. 4 distinct nail impressions already starting to bruise. She felt rage rising in her chest like a tidal wave. "You're done," Denise said to Patricia. "Your career is over. Do you understand me? When this plane lands, I'm pressing charges. Assault on a minor. I have 30 witnesses." Patricia laughed, actually laughed. "Witnesses? These people..." She gestured around the cabin with contempt. "They didn't see anything. Did you..." She turned to the businessman across the aisle. He looked away. She turned to the elderly couple. They suddenly became very interested in their laps. She turned to the young woman with headphones. She put them back in and closed her eyes. "See?" Patricia's smile was triumphant. "Nobody saw anything. It's your word against mine. And sweetheart, who do you think they're going to believe? A hysterical black woman making accusations or a 20-year airline employee with a spotless record?" Denise felt sick. Patricia was right. Nobody was going to help them. Nobody was going to speak up. These passengers had watched a grown woman serve spoiled food to a child, spew racist remarks, and physically grab a 6-year-old, and they were all choosing silence. This was how it worked. This was how it always worked. "Mama," Maya's voice cut through Denise's despair. "Yes, baby. She's wrong." "What?" Maya was still standing on her seat, still trembling. But something had changed in her eyes. The fear was still there, but now there was something else behind it. Something fierce. Something unbreakable. "She's wrong, Mama. Somebody did see." Maya pointed toward the young woman near the front of the cabin, the one who had put her headphones back in, the one who was pretending to sleep. "Her phone, Mama. Look at her phone." Denise looked. The young woman's phone was propped against the seat in front of her, angled toward row 4. The screen was dark, but there was a small red light blinking in the corner. She was recording. She had been recording the entire time. Patricia saw it too. Her face went pale. "Give me that phone." The young woman didn't move. "I said give me that phone right now." Still nothing. Patricia stormed toward the front of the cabin, reaching for the device. But before she could grab it, the young woman's hand shot out and snatched it away. "Don't touch my property." Her voice was calm but firm. She pulled out her earbuds and stood up, turning to face Patricia with an expression of cold contempt. I've been recording since you asked to see their boarding passes. I have everything. The way you treated them differently, the spoiled food, every racist word you said, and I definitely have you grabbing that little girl." Patricia's composure cracked. "You can't record me without my permission. That's illegal. Actually, New York is a one-party consent state. I'm the one party. And even if it wasn't, you just committed assault on a child in front of 30 witnesses. That video is going straight to the police, to the airline's corporate office, and to every news outlet in America." "You wouldn't dare." The young woman smiled. "Watch me." She turned to Denise. "My name is Jasmine Porter. I'm a journalist. I was going to LA to cover a story, but I think I just found a much better one." Denise felt hope surge in her chest for the first time since this nightmare began. "You have everything. Everything. Crystal clear. Audio and video. This woman is finished." Patricia's face had gone from pale to green. She looked like she might vomit. 20 years with the airline. 20 years of hiding her prejudice behind professional smiles and plausible deniability. And now it was all going to come crashing down because of a journalist with a smartphone. "This is a misunderstanding," Patricia said, her voice desperate now. "I wasn't trying to hurt the child. I was just trying to get her to sit down. For safety reasons." "Safety reasons?" Jasmine laughed bitterly. "You grabbed a 6-year-old hard enough to leave marks because she complained about the rotten food you deliberately served her. That's not safety. That's assault." "I didn't deliberately serve her anything. That's the food we had available." "Really?" "Because I have video of you serving hot meals to every white passenger in this cabin and then reaching into a separate compartment to pull out expired sandwiches for the only black passengers. You want to explain that?" Patricia opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The businessman across the aisle finally spoke up. "She's right. I saw her do it. She served me salmon from the top of the cart, and then she gave them those sandwiches from underneath." Patricia spun toward him. "You said you didn't see anything." "I lied, because I'm a coward." He stood up, his expensive suit suddenly looking less impressive. "But I'm not going to lie anymore. I saw everything. The boarding pass check, the different food, the things you said, all of it." The elderly woman behind them raised her hand like she was in school. "I saw it too. I heard what you said about some people not belonging in first class. It made me sick to my stomach." Her husband nodded. "We should have said something sooner. We should have stopped her." More passengers were speaking up now. The dam had broken. "I saw her grab the girl. There was no reason for it. She was so rude to them from the moment she walked into the cabin. I've never seen anything so disgusting in my life. Someone needs to call the captain." Patricia looked around wildly. The passengers who had been silent were now turning against her. The witnesses who had refused to see were now speaking out. Her allies had become her accusers. "This is ridiculous," she spat. "You're all overreacting. I was just doing my job." "Your job?" Denise's voice was ice. "Your job is to serve passengers, all passengers, with equal respect and dignity. Your job is not to discriminate against people because of their race. Your job is definitely not to put your hands on children." "I barely touched her. You left marks on her skin. My daughter is 6 years old. She weighs 45 pounds, and you grabbed her hard enough to bruise." Maya was still standing on her seat. She had stopped trembling. She was watching this confrontation with wide eyes, taking in every word, every reaction, every shift in power. And then she did something that no one expected. She held up her wrist so everyone in the cabin could see. "This is what she did to me." Her small voice carried through the silent cabin. Every head turned toward her. Every eye saw the red marks on her brown skin. "I just wanted the same food as everyone else. That's all. And she hurt me." The elderly woman burst into tears. The businessman looked away, shame written all over his face. Jasmine kept her phone pointed at Maya, capturing every second. And Patricia Hendricks finally understood that she had lost. "I want to speak to the head flight attendant," Denise said. "Now. I am the head flight attendant for this cabin. Then I want to speak to whoever is above you, the captain, the co-pilot, anyone. You can't just demand to speak to the captain. Watch me." Denise pressed the call button above her seat, then she pressed it again and again. Within seconds, the cabin door opened and a male flight attendant rushed in. David, according to his name tag, the same one who had been helping Patricia with meal service earlier. "What's going on? Is there an emergency?" "Yes," Denise said. "There is. This woman served my daughter spoiled food, made racist comments to us in front of the entire cabin, and then physically grabbed my 6-year-old daughter hard enough to leave marks. I want to speak to the captain immediately." David's eyes went wide. He looked at Patricia, then at Denise, then at Maya's outstretched wrist with its angry red marks. "Patricia, what is she talking about?" "It's nothing. She's exaggerating. The child stood up on her seat, and I was trying to get her to sit down for safety." "She's lying." The businessman stood up. "I saw everything. She grabbed that little girl because the child complained about being served rotten food while everyone else got hot meals." "That's right," another passenger added. "She treated them differently from the moment she saw them." "She said they didn't belong in first class," the elderly woman chimed in. "Said it right to their faces." David looked overwhelmed. He was clearly not trained for this situation. His eyes darted between Patricia and the growing chorus of accusatory passengers. "I need to get Sandra," he said finally. "She's the head flight attendant for the entire plane. She'll know what to do." "Then get her," Denise said. "Now." David practically ran toward the front of the plane. Patricia turned to Denise with venom in her eyes. "You think you've won something here? You think this changes anything? Even if they fire me, even if you sue the airline, it won't matter. There will always be someone else. There will always be people who see exactly what you are." "And what am I? You know exactly what you are." Denise stepped closer to Patricia, close enough that only Patricia could hear what she said next. "I know exactly what I am. I'm a mother. I'm a successful businesswoman. I'm a graduate of Columbia Law School. I'm the granddaughter of a woman who marched with Dr. King. And I'm someone who is going to make sure you never do this to another family as long as you live." Patricia's face twisted with hatred. But before she could respond, the cabin door opened again. A woman entered. She was older than Patricia, with kind eyes and an air of authority that filled the space immediately. Her name tag read Sandra Mitchell, and beneath it were the words, "Senior Flight Attendant." She took one look at the scene before her and knew immediately that something had gone terribly wrong. "Someone want to tell me what's happening here?" Everyone started talking at once. The passengers, Patricia, Denise. The noise became a chaotic jumble of accusations and denials. Sandra held up her hand. "One at a time, please." She turned to Denise. "Ma'am, I can see you're upset. Can you tell me calmly what happened?" Denise took a deep breath. "My name is Denise Williams. This is my daughter, Maya. We're passengers in first class, seats 4A and 4B. From the moment your flight attendant, Patricia, saw us, she treated us differently than every other passenger in this cabin." "Differently how?" "She questioned our boarding passes when she didn't question anyone else's. She served us spoiled food from a separate compartment while giving hot meals to everyone else. She made racist comments about how we don't belong in first class. And when my daughter stood up to complain about the spoiled food, Patricia grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave marks." Sandra's eyes moved to Maya. "Sweetheart, can I see your wrist?" Maya held out her arm. The red marks had darkened, now the crescents from Patricia's fingernails, clearly visible against her brown skin. Sandra's expression hardened. "Patricia, is this true?" "Of course not. The child was standing on her seat. It's a safety hazard. I was trying to get her to sit down." "By grabbing her hard enough to leave bruises." "I didn't grab her that hard. She's exaggerating." "I have video," Jasmine spoke up. "I recorded everything. The food service, the comments, the assault, all of it." Sandra turned to her. "May I see?" Jasmine walked over and held out her phone. Sandra watched in silence for several minutes. Her face grew darker with each passing second. When the video ended, Sandra handed the phone back to Jasmine. Then she turned to Patricia. "In 23 years with this airline, I have never seen anything so disgraceful." "Sandra, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You deliberately discriminated against passengers because of their race. You served them food that should have been thrown away. You verbally abused them in front of an entire cabin, and then you assaulted a child." "It wasn't assault." There are marks on her skin, Patricia, marks that you put there, on a 6-year-old girl. Sandra's voice was shaking now, not with fear, but with rage. You're relieved of duty, immediately. Go to the back of this plane and stay there. Do not interact with any passengers. Do not touch anything. When we land, you will be escorted off by security and your employment will be terminated. Patricia's face went white. You can't do that. I have 20 years with this airline. I have seniority. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you exercise it before you make things worse for yourself. I'll sue. I'll go to the union. I'll go, now. Sandra's voice left no room for argument. Patricia looked around the cabin one last time, searching for any ally, any sympathetic face. She found none. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the back of the plane. As she passed each row, passengers turned away from her. Some shook their heads, others glared. One man actually said, "Shame on you," as she passed. When she was finally gone, Sandra turned to Denise and Maya. Mrs. Williams, I cannot apologize enough for what you and your daughter experienced today. This is not who we are as an airline. This is not what we stand for, and I promise you there will be consequences. Denise nodded, but the adrenaline was starting to fade. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was still pounding. She looked at her daughter, still standing on the seat, still holding out her wrist with its angry marks. "Baby, you can sit down now." Maya sat, but she didn't relax. She was still processing everything that had happened, the spoiled food, the cruel words, the pain in her wrist, the way all those grown-ups had finally started speaking up after staying silent for so long. "Mama, yes, baby. Did we win?" Denise pulled her daughter close, wrapping her arms around her small body, breathing in the scent of her hair. "You won, baby. You stood up. You used your voice. You showed everyone in this cabin what courage looks like. But I'm still scared. I know. Being scared is okay. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." Like Bessie Coleman. Denise smiled through the tears that were now streaming down her face. Exactly like Bessie Coleman. Sandra approached them quietly. "Mrs. Williams, I'd like to move you and your daughter to different seats, our best seats in first class, and I'd like to personally serve you a proper meal, fresh hot, whatever you want." "That's very kind, but please, it's the least I can do, and when we land, the airline will be in contact about compensation, full refund, obviously, and whatever else you need." Denise looked at Maya. "What do you think, baby? Do you want to move?" Maya considered this. Then she shook her head. "No, Mama. I want to stay here, in our seats, the seats we paid for, the seats we have every right to be in." Sandra smiled sadly. "She's quite a young lady." "Yes," Denise said. "She is." Jasmine approached them, her phone still in her hand. "Mrs. Williams, I need to ask you something important. I have this video. It's going to go viral. There's no way it won't. But I want your permission before I post it. This is your story, yours and Maya's. You should get to decide how it's told." Denise thought about it. A video like this would change their lives. Maya would become famous, or at least known. There would be interview requests, media attention, maybe harassment from people who didn't want to hear the truth. But there would also be impact. Other families who might be spared this experience because someone finally held these people accountable. Other children who might learn that their voices matter. Other Patricia Hendrickses who might think twice before treating someone like garbage. "Maya, what do you think?" Maya looked up at her mother with those serious brown eyes. "You told me my voice matters, Mama. Maybe it can matter to other people too. Other kids like me." Denise turned to Jasmine. "Post it." Jasmine nodded. "I'll make sure your side of the story is told fairly. You have my word." She stepped away and began tapping at her phone, preparing the video for upload. Sandra returned with a cart. Real food this time. 2 plates of grilled salmon with roasted vegetables and lemon butter sauce, fresh bread, crisp salad, and for Maya a special chocolate sundae with extra whipped cream. "I hope this is acceptable," Sandra said softly. Maya looked at the beautiful meal in front of her. Then she looked at her wrist, still marked with Patricia's fingerprints. Then she looked at her mother. "Thank you," Maya said politely, "but I'm not hungry anymore." And somehow those simple words said everything. Sandra stood there holding the tray of beautiful food, her face crumbling at Maya's words. A 6-year-old child had just refused a meal not out of spite, but because the joy of eating had been stolen from her. The innocence of a simple airplane lunch had been poisoned by hatred. "I understand, sweetheart," Sandra said softly. "Can I at least leave it here in case you change your mind?" Maya nodded but didn't look at the food. Denise pulled her daughter closer, feeling Maya's small body trembling against her own. The adrenaline was wearing off for both of them now, leaving behind exhaustion and a deep aching sadness. Jasmine looked up from her phone. "It's uploading now. Should be live in about 2 minutes." "How many followers do you have?" Denise asked. "About 300,000 on Twitter, 500,000 on Instagram." "But that's not what matters. What matters is the content. This video is going to spread whether I have followers or not, because it's real, because it's undeniable, because people need to see it." The businessman across the aisle cleared his throat. "Mrs. Williams," Denise turned to look at him. "I owe you an apology. When that woman asked if anyone saw anything, I said no. I was a coward. I watched her treat you and your daughter like garbage, and I didn't say a word because I didn't want to get involved. That's inexcusable." "Why?" Maya asked suddenly. "Why didn't you help us?" The businessman flinched at the directness of the question. He looked at this 6-year-old girl with her butterfly clips and her marked wrist and her eyes that had seen too much today. "I don't know," he admitted. "I was comfortable. I had my meal. I was working on my laptop. And I told myself it wasn't my business, that I didn't want to make assumptions, that maybe there was some explanation I wasn't seeing." "But you saw," Maya said. "You saw everything." "Yes, I saw everything. And you still didn't help." "No, I didn't. And I'm ashamed of that, more ashamed than I've been of anything in a long time." Maya considered this. Her 6-year-old mind was working through something complex, something about human nature and moral courage and the difference between knowing what's right and actually doing it. "My mama told me that sometimes grown-ups need to be reminded to do better," Maya said finally. "Maybe next time you'll remember." The businessman's eyes filled with tears. A grown man in a $1,000 suit brought to tears by the gentle rebuke of a child. "I will remember. I promise you I will never forget this day." The elderly woman leaned forward from her seat. "I'm ashamed too. 52 years I've been married to this man, and we've always prided ourselves on standing up for what's right. But today, we just sat there. We heard that woman say those awful things, and we just sat there." Her husband nodded. "We grew up in the South. We remember segregation. We remember the civil rights movement. We thought those days were behind us. We thought we were past all that ugliness." "We're not past it," Denise said quietly. "We're not even close." "No," the elderly woman agreed. "I can see that now, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened to your daughter, for what happened to both of you." Maya looked at all these adults who were suddenly apologizing, suddenly finding their voices, suddenly discovering their consciences. An hour ago they had been silent. An hour ago they had looked away. An hour ago they had chosen comfort over courage. It took a 6-year-old standing on an airplane seat to wake them up. "It's okay," Maya said. "You're talking now. That's what matters." Jasmine's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then started buzzing continuously. "It's live," she said, "and it's already being shared." She stared at her screen, her eyes widening. 1,000 views in the first minute, 2,000. This is moving fast. Sandra approached Denise. "Mrs. Williams, I need to inform the captain about what's happened. He'll want to make an announcement and may want to speak with you personally." "Of course." Sandra disappeared toward the cockpit. The cabin had transformed. What had been a space of tension and hostility was now something else entirely. Passengers were talking to each other in low voices. Some were crying. Others were on their phones texting or calling, spreading the word about what they had witnessed. The young woman who had been pretending to sleep earlier approached Denise. I'm sorry I put my headphones in. I heard what was happening and I didn't want to deal with it. That was wrong." "Why are you telling me this?" Denise asked. "Because your daughter deserves to know that what she did mattered, that it changed something, at least for me." Maya looked up at the woman. "What did it change?" "My silence. Next time I see something wrong, I won't look away. I won't put my headphones in. I'll speak up. Because you showed me what courage looks like, and it looks like a 6-year-old girl in a purple dress who refuses to be invisible." The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Morrison. I've been informed of a serious incident that occurred in our first-class cabin during this flight. I want to assure you that the matter is being addressed and the crew member involved has been relieved of duty. I also want to personally apologize to the passengers who were affected. What happened today does not represent the values of Atlantic Premier Airways or the standards we expect from our employees." He paused. When he continued, his voice was heavier. "To the young passenger in row 4, I want you to know that you showed more courage today than most people show in a lifetime. On behalf of this entire flight crew, thank you for speaking up. Thank you for demanding to be treated with dignity. And thank you for reminding all of us what it means to stand up for what's right." Maya's eyes went wide. The captain of the airplane was talking about her, on the intercom, to everyone. "We will be landing in Los Angeles in approximately 2 hours. When we arrive, representatives from the airline will be meeting this flight to address the situation further. In the meantime, I ask that all passengers extend their support and kindness to the family affected. Thank you." The intercom clicked off. For a moment, the cabin was silent. Then something unexpected happened. The businessman started clapping. It was slow at first, just him bringing his hands together in steady, deliberate applause. Then the elderly couple joined in, then the young woman, then another passenger, and another, and another. Within seconds, the entire first-class cabin was applauding. Not for the captain's announcement, not for the airline's response. For Maya. They were applauding a 6-year-old girl who had stood up when they sat down, who had spoken when they were silent, who had shown them all what courage really meant. Maya didn't know how to react. She looked at her mother with confusion in her eyes. "They're clapping for you, baby," Denise whispered. "Why? Because you did something brave, something important." "But I was just telling the truth." "That's exactly why they're clapping, because telling the truth when it's hard is one of the bravest things a person can do." The applause slowly faded, but the atmosphere in the cabin had permanently shifted. People were looking at Maya differently now, not with pity or sympathy, but with respect, with admiration. Jasmine was staring at her phone in disbelief. 50,000 views in 15 minutes, and it's being picked up by news accounts. CNN just retweeted it. So did NBC. News accounts. Denise felt a flutter of anxiety. Already. This is the kind of story that goes nuclear. A racist flight attendant, a brave little girl caught on video. It's perfect for the news cycle. She looked up at Denise. "You should probably prepare yourself. When we land, there's going to be media. A lot of media." Denise looked at her daughter. Maya was still processing everything, her small mind trying to make sense of a day that had gone from excitement about seeing Grandma to trauma to unexpected heroism. "Baby, how are you feeling?" Maya thought about it. "My wrist still hurts." "I know. We'll have a doctor look at it when we land." "Mama." "Yes. That lady, Patricia, is she in trouble?" "Yes, baby. She's in a lot of trouble." "Good." Maya's voice was firm. "She should be. She was mean, really mean, not just to us. I think she's mean to a lot of people. And somebody needed to stop her." "You stopped her, baby. You did that." Maya looked at her wrist again, at the marks that were now turning purple. Evidence of what Patricia had done. Evidence that would be photographed and documented and probably shown on television. "Mama, do you think other kids get treated like this?" The question hit Denise like a punch to the chest, because the answer was yes. Of course the answer was yes. Every day all across America, Black children experienced racism in ways big and small. Some of it was subtle, like the clutched purses and the suspicious stares. Some of it was blatant, like what had happened today. "Yes, baby, other kids get treated like this." That's not fair. No, it's not. Can we help them? Denise felt tears spring to her eyes again. Her daughter had just been assaulted, traumatized, and humiliated, and her first thought was about helping other children who might face the same thing. I think we can, baby. I think what you did today might help a lot of kids. Because now people are watching. Now people are paying attention. And when people pay attention, things can change. Sandra returned from the cockpit. Her expression was serious but kind. Mrs. Williams, I've spoken with Captain Morrison. He would like to meet your daughter personally when we land. He's also contacted the airline's corporate office. The CEO himself will be at the gate when we arrive. The CEO, this situation has escalated significantly. The video is everywhere. The company is in full crisis management mode. I didn't mean for it to become, Mrs. Williams, what happened to your family today was wrong. The fact that it's becoming a national story isn't your fault. It's the fault of the person who committed these acts. The airline needs to take responsibility, and they're going to. Jasmine looked up from her phone again. 200,000 views. The hashtag Maya Williams is starting to trend. Hashtag what? Denise asked. Maya Williams. People are using your daughter's name as a hashtag. They're sharing their own stories of discrimination. This is becoming a movement. Maya tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mama, what's a hashtag? It's a way for people to find things on the internet, baby. And my name is a hashtag. Apparently so. Maya considered this with the seriousness of a philosopher contemplating the meaning of existence. That's weird. Despite everything, Denise laughed. Leave it to her 6-year-old to reduce a viral social media phenomenon to weird. The flight continued. Passengers came by row 4 in a steady stream, wanting to express their support, their admiration, their apologies for not speaking up sooner. Some brought small gifts from their own bags, candy bars and puzzle books and little toys from the airline's children's pack. Others simply wanted to shake Maya's hand or tell her she was brave. Maya accepted it all with gracious confusion. She didn't fully understand why everyone was making such a fuss. She had just told the truth. She had just refused to accept being treated badly. Wasn't that what everyone was supposed to do? The elderly woman came by and pressed something into Maya's hand. It was a small silver angel pin. This was my grandmother's, the woman said. She gave it to me when I was about your age. She told me it would protect me when I needed to be brave. I want you to have it. Maya looked at the pin, then at the woman. But it's special to you. It is. That's why I want you to have it. Because what you did today was special too. Thank you. Maya clutched the pin carefully. I'll take good care of it. I know you will, sweetheart. Time passed. The captain announced they were beginning their descent into Los Angeles. The sun was setting outside the windows, painting the sky in oranges and purples. Jasmine's phone had not stopped buzzing. 1 million views, she announced. 1 million people have watched your daughter stand up to a racist. Every major news outlet in the country has picked up the story. The airline stock is down 3% in after-hours trading. Their stock is down. This is the kind of PR nightmare that costs companies millions. Investors don't like viral videos of their employees assaulting children. Maya pressed her face against the window, watching Los Angeles grow larger below them. Somewhere down there was Grandma probably finishing up preparations for her birthday party, having no idea what had happened on the flight. Mama, is Grandma going to be worried? She might be, baby. We should probably call her when we land. I don't want her to be sad on her birthday. She won't be sad. She'll be proud of you, just like I am. But I didn't do anything special. I just said what happened. Denise turned her daughter to face her, looking directly into those brown eyes that had seen so much today. Baby, listen to me. What you did was incredibly special. There are adults who have never found the courage to do what you did. There are people who go their whole lives watching wrong things happen and never saying a word. But you at 6 years old stood up and spoke the truth. That's not nothing. That's everything. Maya absorbed this. Bessie Coleman was brave too. Yes, she was. She made history. Yes, she did. Did I make history, Mama? Denise felt her heart crack wide open. Her baby girl, her sweet little Maya with the butterfly clips and the lavender dress, asking if she had made history. "I think you might have, baby. I think you just might have." The plane touched down at LAX. As it taxied toward the gate, Denise looked out the window and felt her stomach drop. The gate area was packed with people. Not just regular passengers and airline employees, but people with cameras, professional cameras, television cameras, and beyond them, a crowd of people holding signs. "Mama, who are all those people? I think they're here for you, baby." "For me. For you." The plane came to a stop. The fasten seatbelt sign dinged off, but nobody in first class moved to get their bags. They all seemed to understand that something significant was about to happen. Sandra approached Denise and Maya. "Mrs. Williams, we're going to deplane you first. The captain would like to escort you personally. There's a private area where you can meet with airline representatives before facing the media." "Is it bad out there?" Sandra hesitated. "It's significant." Denise took a deep breath. She looked at her daughter, at this brave little girl who had started the day excited about visiting Grandma and was ending it as a national news story. "Are you ready, baby?" Maya looked toward the front of the plane, toward whatever was waiting for them outside. "Mama, remember what you told me about Bessie Coleman? How she was scared, but she flew anyway?" "I remember." "I'm scared right now, Mama. Really scared." "I know, baby. So am I. But we're going to fly anyway, right?" Denise felt tears streaming down her face. She didn't wipe them away. She just took her daughter's hand and held it tight. "Yes, baby. We're going to fly anyway." The cabin door opened. Captain Morrison appeared in the doorway of the cockpit. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes, and when he looked at Maya, there was something like reverence in his expression. "Mrs. Williams, Miss Williams." He walked over and knelt down so he was at Maya's eye level. "I've been flying planes for 30 years. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen anything like what you did today." Maya studied his face. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, sweetheart. You did something very, very right. And I want you to know that when you walk off this plane, there are going to be a lot of people waiting for you. Some of them are reporters. Some of them are people who saw the video and wanted to show their support. It might feel overwhelming, but just remember that they're there because what you did mattered. Okay? And if you ever want to see the inside of a cockpit, you just let me know. I think you've earned it." Maya's eyes lit up for the first time since the incident. "Really, I could see where you fly the plane. Anytime you want. It would be my honor." He stood up and extended his hand to Denise. "Mrs. Williams, I am deeply sorry for what you experienced on my aircraft. If there's ever anything I can do for you or your daughter, please don't hesitate." Denise shook his hand. "Thank you, Captain." He stepped aside, gesturing toward the open door. "Whenever you're ready." Denise looked at Maya. Maya looked at Denise. And then, hand in hand, mother and daughter walked toward the door of the plane, toward the flashing cameras and the crowd of supporters and the moment that would change their lives forever. Maya's small hand squeezed her mother's tight. She was scared, but she was going to fly anyway. The moment Maya stepped through the airplane door, the world exploded into light. Camera flashes burst from every direction. Voices shouted over each other, calling her name, calling her mother's name, demanding attention, demanding answers. "Maya, Maya, over here. Mrs. Williams, can you tell us what happened? Maya, how do you feel right now?" Maya froze at the top of the jetway. Her hand clamped down on her mother's so hard that Denise winced. "Mama, there's so many people." "I know, baby. Just keep walking. Don't look at the cameras. Look at me." Captain Morrison stepped in front of them, his tall frame blocking some of the chaos. "Stay close. Security is waiting at the end of the jetway." They moved forward step by step through the tunnel of flashing lights and screaming voices. Maya kept her eyes fixed on her mother's face, trusting Denise to guide her through this madness. At the end of the jetway, 4 airport security officers formed a protective barrier. Behind them stood a man in an expensive suit. his face pale and sweating despite the air conditioning. "Mrs. Williams, I'm Robert Chen, CEO of Atlantic Premier Airways." His voice was shaking. "I cannot express how deeply sorry I am for what happened to your family today." "Not here," Captain Morrison said firmly. "There's a private lounge. This way." They pushed through the crowd, security officers clearing a path. The reporters followed as far as they could, their questions becoming more desperate as their access was cut off. "Maya, what do you want to say to Patricia Hendricks? Mrs. Williams, are you planning to sue the airline? Maya, do you consider yourself a hero?" And then the doors closed behind them, and suddenly there was silence. Maya let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Her whole body was shaking. "Baby, are you okay?" "That was scary, Mama." "I know. It's over now. We're safe." Robert Chen approached them again, his hands clasped in front of him like a penitent seeking forgiveness. "Mrs. Williams, please. Can we talk?" Denise looked at him with cold eyes. "You want to talk, fine. Let's talk about how your employee served my daughter spoiled food. Let's talk about the racist comments she made in front of an entire cabin. Let's talk about how she grabbed my 6-year-old daughter hard enough to leave bruises." Chen flinched at each accusation. "You're absolutely right. What happened was inexcusable. Patricia Hendricks has been terminated effective immediately. We're also conducting a full investigation into how this could have occurred and implementing new training protocols." "Training protocols." Denise's laugh was bitter. "You think this is about training? Your employee didn't need training to know that assaulting a child is wrong. She knew exactly what she was doing. She just thought she could get away with it." "You're right, and I'm not here to make excuses for her. I'm here to make this right as much as anyone can." "And how exactly do you plan to do that?" Chen swallowed hard. "Full refund of your tickets, obviously. We'd also like to offer you a substantial settlement for the pain and suffering you've experienced. And we're prepared to make a significant donation to any charity of your choosing." "A settlement?" Denise's voice was ice. "You're trying to buy my silence." "No, that's not—" "How much?" Chen hesitated. "We were thinking $500,000, plus the charitable donation." And the number hung in the air. $500,000. Enough to change their lives. Enough to pay off the mortgage fund Maya's college education provides security for years to come. And what would I have to agree to in exchange? Just a standard non-disclosure agreement. No public statements about the incident. No interviews. No lawsuits. Denise looked at her daughter. Maya was sitting in a chair examining the bruises on her wrist, the silver angel pin from the elderly woman clutched in her other hand. "Maya, baby, come here." Maya walked over and took her mother's hand. "This man wants to give us a lot of money. But in exchange, we'd have to stop talking about what happened. We couldn't tell anyone. We couldn't do interviews. We couldn't help make sure this doesn't happen to other families." Maya looked up at Chen with those serious brown eyes. "You want us to be quiet?" Chen shifted uncomfortably. "I want to help your family move forward from this terrible experience. But if we're quiet, other kids might get hurt like I did. Other mamas might get treated mean like my mama. We're implementing new policies to make sure that doesn't happen." "But you had policies before, and it still happened." Chen had no response to that. Maya turned to her mother. "Mama, I don't want to be quiet. You told me my voice matters. If I take his money and stop talking, then my voice doesn't matter anymore." Denise felt pride swelling in her chest. Her 6-year-old daughter offered $500,000, and she was turning it down because she understood something that most adults never grasped. Silence could be bought, but once you sold your voice, you never got it back. "Mr. Chen, we decline your offer." His face went gray. "Mrs. Williams, please. Think about what you're giving up." "I am thinking about it. And I'm thinking about every black child who's going to fly on an airplane in the next year. Every black family who's going to buy first-class tickets and hope they get treated with basic human dignity. If I sign your NDA, nothing changes. Patricia Hendricks becomes a footnote, the video gets buried, and your airline goes back to business as usual." "That's not true. We're committed to real change." "Then prove it. Not with settlements and NDAs. Prove it with action. Fire anyone else who's engaged in discrimination. Make diversity training mandatory and meaningful. Create an independent oversight board to handle complaints. Do those things and maybe I'll believe you're committed to change. Chen was sweating even more now. Those are significant changes. I can't make those decisions unilaterally. Then talk to whoever can, because until I see real commitment, we have nothing to discuss. The door to the lounge burst open. A woman rushed in, her face streaked with tears, her arms already reaching for Maya. My baby, my grandbaby. Grandma. Maya ran across the room and threw herself into her grandmother's arms. Gloria Williams held her tight, sobbing openly, her whole body shaking with relief and anguish. I saw the video. I saw what that woman did to you. Oh, my sweet baby girl. Grandma, I'm okay. I'm okay. Let me see your wrist. Let me see what she did. Maya held out her arm. The bruises had darkened to an angry purple, Patricia's fingerprints clearly visible against Maya's brown skin. Gloria's expression transformed from grief to rage. She put her hands on my grandbaby. She put her hands on you. It's okay, Grandma. She got in trouble. She lost her job. Lost her job. That's not enough. That woman should be in prison. Denise approached her mother and pulled her into an embrace. Mama, thank you for coming. Did you think I wouldn't? The second I saw that video, I got in my car and drove straight here. She pulled back and looked at her daughter. Are you okay? I don't know what I am. It's been a lot. I can imagine. Gloria's eyes moved to Robert Chen, who was standing awkwardly to the side. And who's this? Robert Chen, CEO of the airline. Gloria's eyes narrowed. The airline that let this happen. Mama. No, I want to hear from him. Gloria walked toward Chen with a fury that made the CEO take an involuntary step backward. My granddaughter is 6 years old. 6, and your employee assaulted her on an airplane because of the color of her skin. What do you have to say for yourself? Ma'am, I'm deeply sorry. Sorry, you're sorry. Do you know what it took for my family to get here? Do you have any idea what our history is? I don't. My mother was a sharecropper in Mississippi. She picked cotton until her fingers bled. My father was beaten by police for trying to vote. I marched in Birmingham when I was 17 years old. I watched my friends get attacked by dogs and knocked down by fire hoses. And I thought that my grandchildren would live in a different world. Her voice broke. And now I'm watching a video of a white woman grabbing my grandbaby and telling her she doesn't belong in first class in 2024. How is that possible? How is that still happening? Chen looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Mrs. Williams, I don't have answers that will satisfy you. What happened was wrong. It was inexcusable. And I promise you we will do everything in our power to make sure it never happens again. Everything in your power. I've heard those words before, from politicians, from CEOs, from police chiefs, and nothing ever changes. Grandma! Maya's small voice cut through her grandmother's anger. Yes, baby. Things are changing right now because of what happened today. Mama showed me on the phone. 1 million people watched the video. They're all talking about it. They're sharing their own stories. It's like everybody woke up. Gloria looked at her granddaughter, at this child who had endured something no 6-year-old should ever experience, and was somehow finding hope in it. When did you get so wise, baby girl? I learned from you, Grandma, and from Mama, and from Bessie Coleman. Gloria's eyes filled with fresh tears. Bessie Coleman. She was the first black woman pilot. Nobody in America would teach her to fly, so she went to France and learned there. And then she came back and flew anyway. That's what I did, Grandma. I flew anyway. Gloria pulled Maya into another embrace, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because she was. The door opened again. Jasmine Porter entered, her phone still in her hand, her expression a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Mrs. Williams, you need to see this. What is it? The video just hit 5 million views, and that's not even the big news. What's the big news? Jasmine turned her phone around so everyone could see the screen. It was a news clip, and the banner at the bottom read, "Breaking Patricia Hendricks arrested on assault charges." They arrested her. LAPD was waiting when the plane landed. They took her straight into custody. She's being charged with assault on a minor battery and civil rights violations. Maya looked up at her mother. "What does that mean?" "It means she's in very serious trouble, baby. It means she might go to jail. For grabbing me. For grabbing you. For hurting you. For treating us the way she did." Maya processed this. "I don't want her to go to jail forever." Everyone looked at her in surprise. "Why not, baby?" "Because that's not going to make her not racist. Going to jail doesn't change how people think. It just makes them angrier." Gloria shook her head slowly. "Lord, this child. I want her to understand why what she did was wrong. I want her to really understand, not just get punished. Baby, some people never understand, no matter how much you try to teach them." "Then I feel sorry for her." Chen stepped forward hesitantly. "Miss Williams, Maya, I have a daughter about your age, and I've been standing here trying to imagine how I would feel if someone did to her what Patricia did to you. I can't even contemplate it. The rage I would feel. Are you angry at her?" "Yes, very. But are you going to change things at your airline so other kids don't get treated like me?" Chen looked at this 6-year-old girl with her bruised wrist and her butterfly clips and her eyes that seemed to see right through every excuse and rationalization he could offer. "Yes," he said, "I am. Promise. I promise. And if you break your promise, then you can tell everyone, you can do as many interviews as you want, you can tell the whole world that I'm a liar." Maya extended her small hand. "Shake on it." Chen reached down and shook her hand, this tiny hand that had somehow moved an entire nation. Jasmine's phone buzzed again. She looked at it, and her eyes went wide. "Oh my God. What now?" "The White House just issued a statement. The president mentioned Maya by name. She said, and I quote, 'Maya Williams showed more courage today than most adults show in a lifetime.' She reminds us that the fight for equality requires all of us to speak up, especially when it's hard." Gloria had to sit down. The President of the United States is talking about my grandbaby." Denise felt dizzy. This morning they had been a normal family flying to a birthday party. Now the President was issuing statements about them. "Mama, what's the President?" She's the leader of our country, baby. And she knows my name." "Apparently so." "That's cool." Maya yawned. "I'm tired, Mama." It hit Denise all at once, the adrenaline, the trauma, the exhaustion. Her 6-year-old daughter had been through more in the last 6 hours than most people experienced in a year. And through it all she had been brave and strong and wise beyond her years. But she was still just a little girl, and little girls got tired. "Mr. Chen, we need to go. We have a birthday party to attend." "Of course. I've arranged for a private car to take you wherever you need to go. And Mrs. Williams," he hesitated, "I meant what I said. Things are going to change. I'll make sure of it." "I'll hold you to that." They gathered their things and headed for the door. The security officers were still there, ready to escort them through the crowd. Gloria took Maya's hand. "Ready to go home, baby girl." "Is it still your birthday, Grandma?" "For about 3 more hours, yes. Then we still have time for cake." And despite everything, despite the trauma and the chaos and the weight of the whole world suddenly paying attention, Maya was still thinking about her grandmother's birthday cake. Gloria laughed through her tears. "Yes, baby, we still have time for cake." They pushed through the doors and back into the chaos. The crowd had grown even larger. News vans lined the curb. Helicopters circled overhead. People pressed against the security barriers holding signs that read, "We stand with Maya," and "Justice for Maya," and "Your voice matters." Maya stared at all of it, trying to comprehend that this was all because of her, because she had stood up on an airplane seat and told the truth. A little girl broke free from the crowd and ran toward them. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, with braids and a pink dress and tears streaming down her face. "Maya, Maya!" Security moved to intercept her, but Maya pulled free from her mother's hand. "Wait, she's just a kid." The little girl threw her arms around Maya and hugged her tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for being brave. My mama said you're a hero. She said you spoke up for all of us." Maya hugged her back. "What's your name, Destiny?" "That's a pretty name." "My mama says destiny means something you're meant to do. She says you were destined to do this." Maya thought about that. Destined. Like it was meant to happen. Like she was born for this moment. "Maybe," Maya said. "Or maybe I just got really mad about bad food." Destiny giggled. "You're funny." "Maya, we need to go." Denise's voice was gentle but firm. Maya released Destiny and looked back at the crowd. All these people, all these faces, all here because of something she did. She raised her small hand and waved. The crowd erupted in cheers. And Maya Williams, 6 years old, wearing a lavender dress with butterfly clips in her hair and bruises on her wrist, walked into her new life with her head held high. Because that's what Bessie Coleman would have done. That's what all the brave ones do. The car pulled up to Gloria's house just as the last light of sunset faded from the sky. Maya had fallen asleep against her mother's shoulder, her small body finally surrendering to exhaustion after the most extraordinary day of her young life. "She's out cold," Gloria whispered. "I don't blame her. I'm exhausted, and I didn't do half of what she did." Denise carefully lifted her daughter from the car. Maya stirred, but didn't wake her arms instinctively wrapping around her mother's neck. "Let's get inside before more reporters find us." They had managed to shake most of the media by taking a circuitous route through back streets. But Jasmine had warned them that it was only a matter of time before someone figured out Gloria's address. The front door opened, and a tall man stepped out, Marcus Williams. Denise's older brother, his face creased with worry. "Is she okay?" "She's sleeping." "She's fine, just worn out." "I've been watching the news. It's everywhere, every channel. They keep playing that video over and over." "I know." "That woman grabbed her, Denise. She put her hands on my niece." "I know, Marcus. I was there." "I want to find her. I want to—" "She's in jail. The police arrested her at the airport." "Good. I hope she rots there." Gloria put her hand on her son's arm. "That's enough. We're not going to fill this house with anger tonight. It's still my birthday for another 2 hours, and I want to spend it with my family, not talking about that woman." Marcus took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right, Mama. I'm sorry. Help your sister get Maya inside. I'll start the coffee." They moved into the house, and Denise carried Maya to the guest bedroom they always used when they visited. She laid her daughter gently on the bed and pulled the covers up to her chin. Maya's eyes fluttered open. "Mama?" "I'm here, baby." "Are we at Grandma's house?" "Yes, we made it. Is it still her birthday?" "For a little while longer." Maya smiled sleepily. "Good. I want to give her her present." "You can give it to her in the morning." "No." Maya's eyes opened wider now. "I want to do it now. While it's still her birthday." "Baby, you're exhausted." "Please, Mama. It's important." Denise looked at her daughter at the determination in those tired eyes and knew there was no point in arguing. "Okay, but then straight to bed." Maya nodded and pushed herself up. Denise helped her stand, and together they walked out to the living room where Gloria, Marcus, and his wife Angela were gathered. "Grandma!" Gloria looked up and smiled. "Baby girl, you should be sleeping." "I know, but I wanted to give you your present first." "You didn't have to. I wanted to." Denise retrieved the carefully wrapped package from their luggage. Maya took it in her small hands and carried it over to her grandmother. "Happy birthday, Grandma!" Gloria took the package with trembling hands. She carefully removed the ribbon, then the wrapping paper, revealing a velvet box. She opened it and gasped. Inside was an antique music box, beautifully restored, with a delicate ballerina that would spin when the mechanism was wound. "Oh, baby." "Mama helped me find it. It's from 1962, the same year you were born." Gloria wound the mechanism, and the ballerina began to spin as a gentle melody filled the room. Tears streamed down her face. "It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." The man at the store said music boxes are special because they keep playing even when you're not looking. He said that's like love. It keeps going even when you can't see it. Gloria pulled Maya into her arms. "How did I get so lucky to have a granddaughter like you?" "You're not lucky, Grandma. You worked hard and raised good kids, and they raised good kids. That's not luck. That's you." Marcus wiped at his eyes. "When did she get so smart?" "She's always been smart," Denise said. "We just didn't always notice." Gloria's phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again. Then Marcus's phone started ringing. Then Denise's. "They found us," Marcus said grimly. Gloria stood up with surprising energy for a 75-year-old woman. "Then let's deal with it. I'm not going to spend my birthday hiding in my own house." "Mama, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." She looked at Maya. "My granddaughter taught the whole world a lesson today about using your voice. The least I can do is use mine." She walked to the front door and opened it. A dozen reporters were gathered on the lawn cameras at the ready. They surged forward when they saw her microphones extended. "Mrs. Williams? Mrs. Williams, can we speak to Maya?" Gloria held up her hand, and somehow her presence was commanding enough that they fell silent. "My name is Gloria Williams. Maya is my granddaughter. She's 6 years old and she's had a very long day. She's not going to give any interviews tonight." "But Mrs. Williams, I'm not finished." Her voice was steel. "What happened to my granddaughter today was wrong. It was hateful. It was cruel. But it was not surprising. Not to me. Not to any black person in this country." The reporters were scribbling furiously, cameras rolling. "I marched in Birmingham in 1963. I watched my friends get beaten for wanting to vote. I've spent my whole life fighting for the dream that one day my grandchildren wouldn't have to face what I faced. And today, I watched a video of a white woman telling my grandbaby she doesn't belong in first class." Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. "That woman was wrong. My granddaughter belongs anywhere she wants to be. In first class, in the White House, in the pilot seat, anywhere. And today she proved it. Not by fighting, not by screaming, but by speaking the truth. By standing up when everyone else sat down." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You want a statement? Here it is. Maya Williams is 6 years old, and she just reminded this entire country what courage looks like. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's my birthday, and I'm going to eat some cake with my family." She turned and walked back inside, closing the door firmly behind her. The family stared at her in stunned silence. Then Maya started clapping. "That was amazing, Grandma." Gloria smiled. "I learned from the best." "From who?" "From you, baby girl. From you." The night continued. They ate birthday cake. They sang songs. They tried to pretend, at least for a few hours, that they were just a normal family celebrating a normal birthday. But the phones kept ringing. The texts kept coming. The world kept demanding their attention. At midnight, Gloria officially turned 75. Maya had fallen asleep again, this time on the couch, with her head in her grandmother's lap. "What happens now?" Marcus asked quietly. Denise shook her head. "I don't know. Everything has changed. Nothing is ever going to be the same." "Is that good or bad?" I think it depends on what we do with it." Gloria stroked Maya's hair gently. "What do you mean?" "That CEO, Robert Chen. He made promises, changes to the airline, real accountability. If we just go back to our normal lives, he might forget those promises. But if we keep pushing, if we keep using our voices, we could make a real difference." "Maybe." Marcus leaned forward. "What about Maya?" "She's 6. She shouldn't have to carry the weight of a movement." "She won't. She's a child. We'll protect her. But we can use what happened to her to push for change. Stronger civil rights protections, better training for airline employees, real consequences for discrimination." "That's a lot to take on." "It is. But Mama marched in Birmingham when she was 17. Great-grandma picked cotton until her fingers bled. This family has been fighting for generations. Maybe it's our turn now." Gloria smiled. "Your father would be so proud of you right now." "I miss him, Mama." "I know, baby. I miss him too. But I see him in Maya. That stubbornness, that fire, that refusal to accept injustice. She gets it from you too. Maybe it's just in our blood, this need to stand up, to speak out, to fly anyway." A week passed. The video had been viewed over 50 million times. Patricia Hendricks had been formally charged with assault battery and civil rights violations. She was facing up to 5 years in prison. Atlantic Premier Airways had announced a complete overhaul of their diversity training program. They had established an independent oversight board to handle discrimination complaints. They had fired 3 other employees who were found to have records of discriminatory behavior. Robert Chen had kept his promise. So far. Maya had done one interview carefully controlled with a journalist Denise trusted. She had talked about Bessie Coleman, about using your voice, about the importance of standing up even when you're scared. The interview had been watched by 20 million people. Schools across the country had started using Maya's story in their curriculum. A children's book was being written about her. A documentary was in development. And through it all, Maya remained remarkably unchanged. She still played with her dolls. She still read her books. She still asked endless questions about butterflies and airplanes and whether clouds really tasted like cotton candy. "Mama." They were sitting on Gloria's porch watching the sunset. It had become their evening ritual during this extended stay. "Yes, baby." "Do you think I made a difference?" Denise pulled her daughter close. "I know you did." "How do you know?" "Because I've been getting emails, hundreds of them, from parents all over the country. They're telling me about how their kids saw your video and started speaking up, about bullies at school, about unfair treatment, about all the small injustices that kids usually just accept." "Really? Really?" One little boy in Chicago stood up to his teacher who was being mean to immigrant students. He said he thought about you and what you did on that plane. Maya smiled. "That's cool." "It is cool. You started something, baby, something bigger than just one flight. You reminded people that their voices matter, all people, even kids. Especially kids. Especially kids." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sky turn from orange to purple to deep blue. "Mama." "Yes, baby." "I'm glad it happened." Denise looked at her daughter in surprise. "You're glad?" "Not the bad parts, not the mean lady or the rotten food or when she grabbed my wrist, but everything after, all the people who spoke up, all the changes they're making, all the kids who are being braver because of me. That's very mature of you. I still have nightmares sometimes about her face when she grabbed me, but then I remember that she's in jail and can't hurt anyone anymore, and I remember all the good things that happened because I stood up. How do you think about all this so clearly? You're only 6. Maya considered the question seriously. "I think maybe kids see things more clearly because we haven't learned to ignore stuff yet. Grown-ups learn to look away, to tell themselves things aren't their problem. But kids just see what's there." "When did you become a philosopher?" "What's a philosopher?" "Someone who thinks about big questions." "Oh," Maya grinned, "I've always been that." A car pulled up to the house. A familiar figure got out. "Is that—" Jasmine Porter walked toward them, a huge smile on her face. "Mrs. Williams, Maya, I have news." "What is it?" "Remember how I said I was going to LA to cover a story? Well, that story ended up being Maya, and my editor loved my coverage so much that I've been promoted. I'm now a full-time correspondent for the network." "Jasmine, that's wonderful. But that's not why I'm here." She was practically bouncing. "I just got a call from the White House. The president wants to meet Maya." Denise's jaw dropped. "The president? Next week, she's hosting a reception for civil rights leaders and young activists. She specifically requested that Maya be there." Maya tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mama, what's a reception?" "It's a fancy party, baby." "At the White House." "At the White House." Maya's eyes went wide. "Will I meet the president?" Apparently so. Do I have to wear a fancy dress? Probably. Can I wear my butterfly clips? Denise laughed through the tears that were suddenly streaming down her face. Yes, baby, you can wear your butterfly clips. 1 week later, Maya Williams walked into the White House. She was wearing a new dress, purple this time, because that was her favorite color. Her butterfly clips sparkled in her hair. The bruises on her wrist had faded to pale yellow and would soon be gone entirely, but she would always remember. The president greeted them personally. She was tall and warm, and her smile was genuine. Maya Williams, I've been wanting to meet you. Maya shook her hand solemnly. Thank you for inviting me, Madam President. Thank you for coming. And thank you for what you did on that airplane. You showed the whole country what courage looks like. I was just telling the truth. Sometimes that's the bravest thing anyone can do. They talked for nearly an hour, about Bessie Coleman, about civil rights, about what it means to stand up for yourself. The president listened more than she spoke, genuinely interested in what this 6-year-old had to say. At the end, she knelt down so she was at Maya's eye level. Maya, I want you to remember something. What happened to you was terrible. It never should have happened, but the way you responded was extraordinary. You didn't let them silence you. You didn't let them make you feel small. You flew anyway. Like Bessie Coleman. Exactly like Bessie Coleman. And now, because of you, millions of other people know that they can fly too. That's your legacy, Maya. You gave people permission to use their voices. I didn't mean to start a movement. The best ones never do. They just see something wrong and refuse to accept it. The movement builds itself around people like that. Maya thought about this. Will it keep going even when I go back to being a regular kid? I think so. You planted a seed. Now it's going to grow, with or without you. Good. Because I kind of just want to go back to school and play with my friends. The president laughed. That sounds like a very good plan. As they left the White House, Maya held her mother's hand tightly. Cameras flashed. Reporters called out questions. The world was still watching. But Maya didn't see any of that. She was looking up at the sky, watching an airplane trace a white line across the blue. Mama, yes, baby. I want to learn to fly, like really fly, in a plane. You want to be a pilot? Like Bessie Coleman. Denise smiled. Then that's what you'll do. Promise? I promise. You can be anything you want to be, Maya. Anything at all. Because my voice matters. Because your voice matters. Because you matter. Because nothing and no one can ever make you small unless you let them. Maya squeezed her mother's hand. I'm never going to let them. I know you won't, baby. I know you won't. They walked toward the car past the cameras and the reporters and the curious onlookers. A 6-year-old girl and her mother heading home after changing the world. Behind them, the White House gleamed in the sunlight. Above them, the airplane continued its journey across the sky. And somewhere in a prison cell, Patricia Hendricks was watching the news coverage and finally understanding that she had picked the wrong little girl to try to silence. Because Maya Williams was never going to be silent. Maya Williams was always going to fly, and nothing would ever stop her. Not hate, not fear, not anyone who tried to tell her she didn't belong. Because the little girl in the purple dress with the butterfly clips had learned something that would stay with her for the rest of her life, something that she would teach her own children and grandchildren one day, something that Patricia Hendricks never understood and never would. Your voice matters. Use it. Fly anyway, and never ever let anyone make you feel small. Before you hear what this 6-year-old girl did next, I need you to subscribe to this channel and follow this incredible story until the very end. Drop a comment right now telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story of courage travels across the world. Now let me take you back to where it all began.